through 12. And so those supporters of segregation were not that happy. They didn't want any plan, but since they had to have a plan, they thought, okay, we'll go with this one, the higher grades where we have maximum opportunity for chaos. And it was true. Things were so chaotic that year. Okay. Yes. Okay. His question about the reaction of my parents. And I'm glad you asked that question because it gives me an opportunity to talk about two remarkable people. I came home from school one day and announced to them that I had volunteered for this desegregation experiment. Without skipping a beat, they said, we will support you 100%. And they followed that up by saying, look, if you get up there and it's too rough and you want to quit, we will support your decision to quit 100%. The message they were giving me was this: I could stay or go. It was my decision. But whatever the outcome, whatever I did, whether I chose to stay there or whether I chose to leave, it would not entail the loss of parental esteem. That was important. And that, I think, was one of the things that sustained me through that year. And even though I wanted to quit every second of the year I was there because it was so hard to do. But I was able to resist the impulse to run away, mainly or in part because of what my parents had said. You know, it's amazing. That, along with the fact that I knew that we were doing the right thing, really helped. I mean, in those days when I really felt down, when I was getting beaten down and things were really painful, physically and psychologically, and I wanted to run, I was able to draw on that information and stay. And by the way, let's just run that topic, kids. There may be times in school when things get really rough for you and you think it's really hard. Consider this, that no matter how adverse the circumstance, if you really want to educate yourself, you will find a way to deal with that. You really will. You will not allow a bit of temporary pain to get in your way. And that is important to know. And I'm living proof that you can do it. Because we had to undergo severe circumstances, fight against all kinds of folk who were out to kill us. But what we found was this: you do not have to abandon goal-directed behavior. You can stay focused on your own goals. Habit also helps, because if you develop the habit of learning, you can learn anywhere under any circumstance, because that's your habit. Okay? Yes.
My students watched some of the movies and saw all the mob high schools, and they asked me, did they follow you home? Were they outside of your front door? Were they throwing things at your windows? Did you feel safe at night when you were sleeping? Why did it stop once you left the building? Why didn't they follow you?
Well, they did follow us home, and that's the other part of this stuff. There were drive-bys in the neighborhood. We didn't have the terminology of drive-by, but that's what happened. And the weapons of choice were things thrown through the window. Shotguns and dynamite were also employed. We were fortunate that nothing really serious happened at our house except the neighbor's car was trashed 4 separate times. They parked it a little too close to our house. Carlotta's front of her house was bombed one night with dynamite. Fortunately, they were all in the back of the house, so nobody got hurt. So this was a routine kind of thing. So we had to be very, very careful. Now, fortunately, we had neighborhood vigilantes who helped patrol, and that kept the violence down some. That's always an issue. The opposition is so steadfast, they will not give up. And so it is today. We find that the same is true. This is those forces who are going after Barack Obama are typical, you know. They are not going to relent. They're not going to back off. But we who are differently minded have to prepare to deal with them. That's why it's so important, kids, to have the preparation, because you guys are going to be the leaders in a few short years. You're going to be the leaders. You're going to have those positions of responsibility. You're going to have to deal with all these questions, some of which have their origin in years well before you came on the scene. But you can do it. No question you can do it. In fact, I've been looking, especially at this first row, I'm looking for signs of brain damage. Yeah. school, nobody here has brain damage. Nobody. Which tells me, and the same is true as I look out, if you don't have brain damage, you have biologically healthy brains, and as such, your brain is by definition an A brain. You have the capability of earning A's. Now, some of you, I know without your having to tell me, have used your A brains in the service of earning grades other than A. I know this. Okay? But it's by choice. You don't have to do that. So I would ask you, why? Rhetorical, you don't have to answer. But think about that. Why would you use an A brain and earn grades other than A? Think about it. Yeah, it's on you. Okay, there was a question.
What systems were in place, whether through the NAACP or otherwise? What coping systems were put in place for you and the others to deal with the mental and the physical anguish that you went through daily?
Her question is, what systems were in place to help the 9 of us deal with our mental and physical anguish? And it is such an optimistic question. I love it. But there were no such systems. We had absolutely nothing, except we had community folk, we had family. There was a group of ministers, the Ecumenical Council. But, you know, these were disparate elements and nothing organized. It would have been nice. We could have used some help, I'm going to tell you. Yes.
Linda Marshall from Dulles School. I'm here with 9 of my 8th grade students, and I'll wait till you end.
Excuse me. I was interrupted by these spacing issues.
And after my students had viewed the video, one problem we had in dealing with that was the anger that
From the students?
From viewing the video, the anger and hatred.
You know what? It didn't come from viewing the video.
Yeah, okay.
That's anger that kids bring to that. And they have to deal with it.
Yeah, it ignited it.
Right. It was a catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. And so what I would say to kids who allow those feelings of anger, those emotions of anger to override your decision-making apparatus, is you have to know about yourself beforehand. You have to know beforehand who you are. Ask yourself, why are you angry? What's that about? We as individual human beings have to take charge of that part of who we are. We don't get angry just off the top for no reason at all. That's a part of knowing what's going on with you so you can monitor that. Going to Central High School, the 9 of us often face situations that a lot of people said, oh no, I wouldn't take that. I'd hit somebody in the mouth. I talked to one young middle schooler once, and he said, oh no, man, nobody's going to do that to me. I'll hit him in the mouth. I said, okay, let's say you hit the guy in the mouth. Then another guy comes. What do? I'll hit him in the mouth too. We got all the way up to 50,000. He's still hitting him in the mouth. And I said, but aren't you weary by now? Aren't you running out of energy? He didn't get it. He didn't understand. That does not work. That does not resolve the issue. The issue can be resolved from within by you saying, what are my alternatives? How can I extricate myself from this position without allowing